I am here with author John Draksler. Thank you so much, John, for joining us today. He is the author of the newly published book, Immigrants to Americans, Evolution of a Family. Thank you, John, for joining us.
No problem.
Well, I'll just start by picking your brain a little bit today. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your book?
All right, well, the book started out sort of like a family project. I wanted to get a history of our family, and I was asking questions primarily of my mother, who's 97, and she's the last of her siblings. So I wanted to start asking her about what it was like growing up in a coal patch, coal town, and what they did, what they ate, how they spent their time. So she got me started, and then I sort of expanded it. I talked to my brother. He is sort of the family historian, got some more information. My cousin got some more information. So I said, you know what, this is a neat story, and I think it's worth sharing. So I started writing, and took the family through the decades from the dawn of the 20th century up to the present day, and where we came from and what the social aspects was. One of the things that kept us together, we have a family reunion that we've had almost 60 years without interruption every year. So that sort of kept us together as a family because, everybody was in different parts of the country by then. The first family reunion, we could all drive. Well, I wasn't driving, I was only 5 years old, but they rotated it amongst the uncles and aunts. It was always a one-day thing, and then we started to spread out, but we still kept the reunion. Now it's a 2-day or 3-day event. And this year it'll be in Seattle.
How fun. And what made you decide to, what was the inspiration behind you getting this book published?
Well, I started, the first 3/4 of the book were family history and the family reunion. And then I sort of got to the point where, okay, my generation or the generation after me, what's changed and why? So I put together like my thoughts on where we are today, where we're going. And then I just thought, it seems like it would be a good book, and looked around for a publisher, and I got one.
Has it dawned on you yet, though, that you are a published author? I mean, that's a pretty big feat.
No, it has not dawned on me yet. I have a lot of relatives who have already purchased the book, and friends of mine who helped with the creation of it and the editing and all that stuff. I'm giving them copies, autographed, of course. And it's been an interesting experience. No, there were times that I thought, this can't be happening. I'm not going to get a book published, and I'm not, and even after they agreed to publish it, it was like, is this for real? So, because I'm not a writer by profession, although I love to read, and I wanted to write all through my working career, but I didn't have time. So now I'm retired, and I have all the time in the world.
Well, wonderful. What a great hobby turned into, a possible career long-term after this. You thought you were retiring, but
oh, this is work. This is fun.
Oh, good. I'm so glad. And last question for you here is, if you were to, tell your audience one thing about your book, what would you want them to know?
Well, I think I'd want them to get an idea that growing up as an immigrant family, and they were an immigrant family, they had to become American. Well, they wanted to be. They basically gave up their citizenship in the Austrian Empire and Italy to come here and start a new life. But it wasn't like today where they can go back and forth across the border. They were totally cut off. I mean, 1 or 2 letters a year is all they could expect. There was no email, no phone calls. No, they were totally cut off. So they had to integrate into American society. And my grandfather, Gennardi, he wouldn't let the kids speak Italian at home. He talked to my grandmother in Italian, but he said, "You're American now, speak English." So, and then, it just, the society has changed, okay? It's changed rapidly. The traditions are not what they were. They're changing. Oh, the other thing that I took a good part of the book was, one thing that I didn't realize, because I grew up in a Catholic school, and we never talked about the Great Migration, which was the African American, the Negro movement, the Black movement from south to north. And I didn't realize that how many people made that move. So they were assimilating again as well. They were assimilating into Northern society, and it wasn't easy. They came seeking, freedom, economic freedom, which they found to a great degree, but they didn't have the freedom that I think they thought they were going to get. So that's an interesting part of the story. So it's paralleled with, what's the difference between my family and the African American family, and certainly they can trace their history back to this country several hundred years. My family, it's just the last 120 years. So that was an interesting story, and it was an education for me. I started researching it and found out things I didn't know.
Well, what a wonderful, not only gift to your audience, but to your family as well, to be able to read back through the history of your family long ago.
They want me to find them and give them to them for free, though.
Oh, so there is a catch. They're like,
yeah, there is.
Grandpa, you should get it. I love that. Well, thank you so much, John, for joining us today. Once again, John's book can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Apple iTunes. Thank you.